This video is brought to you by Hobs and Shaw. Own it with over 80 minutes of bonus content, including an alternate opening and deleted scenes, on digital October 15th and on Blu-ray and 4K Ultra HD November 5th. The rest of the Fast and Furious franchise is available now on digital, 4K Ultra HD, and Blu-ray. Audiences may come for the high-octane chase scenes, but Hobs and Shaw know how to entertain in more ways than one. Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 Luke Hobbs and Deckard Shaw fights. For this list, we're looking at some of the most memorable fights in the Fast and Furious franchise, featuring Luke Hobbs and/or Deckard Shaw. Though this long-running film series has offered us no shortage of vehicular mayhem over the years, we are specifically focusing on hand-to-hand and armed combat for this list. Number 10. Shaw babysits the fate of the Furious. Protecting an infant while engaging in complex gunplay with hordes of faceless henchmen is a time-honored tradition in the action genre. But it's one that takes a brilliant fight coordinator to orchestrate, and that is just what the fate of the Furious delivers here. Following in the footsteps of John Woo in Hard Boiled and Gerard Butler in Shoot 'em Up, Jason Statham's Shaw kicks, shoots, and pistol whips his way through a plane full of trained gunmen, all the while keeping Dom's child out of harm's way. He even stops to check in on the little tot whenever he can, ensuring that despite the surrounding carnage, the baby remains none the wiser. Number 9. The Prison Riot, the Fate of the Furious. Prison isn't where you'd want to be even on a good day. But finding yourself among the inmates, in a high-security prison no less, when all hell breaks loose, that's enough to stain your orange jumpsuit. For Luke Hobbs and Deckard Shaw, however, a full-blown prison riot is a walk in the park. A particularly overcrowded park, perhaps, but you get the idea. Deckard Shaw takes the mayhem as an opportunity to escape, and he does so by mowing through guards and prisoners alike. Though Hobbs was happy to stay in his cell, Shaw's escape forces his hand, and so he's soon following suit, tossing people around like ragdolls. Number 8. Parallel Nights. Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. This 2019 film starts with a split screen showing how our joint protagonists start their respective days. Hobbs and Shaw might butt heads a lot, but for all their differences, they also have a lot in common. A penchant for eggs aside, they both also have a knack for getting themselves into trouble. Shaw makes his way to a posh party in London, while in Los Angeles, Hobbs heads to a karaoke bar that acts as a front for a more nefarious business. Despite their different settings, they both receive a similar welcome, prompting them to each start talking with their fists. They might not know it yet, but as these parallel fights prove, Hobbs and Shaw are actually a match made in heaven. Number 7. Hobbs and Toretto versus Owen Shaw and Klaus. Fast and Furious 6. Tearing through dozens of faceless goons is all well and good, but there's something to be said for a big fight between our heroes and bona fide villains. And when the heroes in question are played by none other than Dwayne Johnson and Vin Diesel as Luke Hobbs and Dominic Toretto, you know you're in for one heck of a show. Vin Diesel is by no means a small dude, but Klaus, played by Kim Cold, makes him look tiny by comparison. And so it only felt appropriate to make this a tag team match. Toretto against Owen Shaw and Hobbs against Klaus. It is a great fight from beginning to end, but when Toretto and Hobbs team up to finish Klaus, well, that is the KO. Number 6. Picking Doors. Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. Most noteworthy on-screen fights rise above the rest as a result of masterful stunt coordination. In this particular case, however, what makes the scene so memorable is less the fight itself and more the setup. Hobbs and Shaw are presented with a classic dilemma, the choice between two doors. Upon seeing that his corridor is full of foot soldiers, Shaw makes a half-hearted attempt to trade, before launching himself into the fray to do what he does best. On the other side of the glass wall, Hobbs only has a single, admittedly oversized adversary, whom he floors with a single punch. And then he just kicks back and watches Shaw work. The scene delivers on both action and laughs. What more could you ask for? Number 5. The elevator fight scene. Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. This is one fight we'd personally rather sit out, but it was an absolute pleasure to watch from the comfort of a movie theater. This scene actually works as a nice inversion of our previous entry. This time, it's Shaw on the other side of the glass who's having a relaxing few moments to himself, and Hobbs who's doing all the work. That being said, given that he's fighting while falling from a skyscraper, we think it's safe to say that Hobbs got it a whole lot worse. His dynamic with Shaw makes for a good laugh, but the action itself is absolutely top-notch, making for a high-flying and high-stakes fight that continues even after they hit the ground floor. Number 4. Hobbs vs. Shaw. Furious 7. As much as we love seeing Hobbs and Shaw team up, there's no denying that these two go together like cats and dogs. They're clearly most at home when at each other's throats. Since they're both relatively new additions to the franchise, however, we've only gotten to see them really throw down on one occasion. And quite frankly, we'd be lying if we said it didn't leave us wanting more. Hobbs brings an unlikely pairing of both brawn and speed, but Shaw is even faster. And he's just about as tricky as they come, always improvising as he goes. When the fight transitions from brawl to gunplay, however, Shaw quickly brings it to an explosive conclusion. But while it lasted, it was glorious. Number 3. Hobbs and Shaw vs. Brixton. Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. In Idris Elba's character Brixton lore, Shaw and Hobbs find an enemy the likes of which neither they nor Dom and his crew has ever faced before. As he's an artificially enhanced terrorist, he is pretty much a supervillain. That being said, never before in this franchise have our heroes gone to war either. Hobbs and Shaw is really a film full of firsts for Fast and Furious. As Brixton proved during the truck fight, he is not to be taken lightly. So in the end, it demands the combined effort of Hobbs and Shaw to take him down. With plenty of slow motion, brutal bone-crunching blows, and a healthy dose of rain for dramatic effect, this was the perfect fight to end off a film that had already set a high bar in terms of action. Number 2. Shaw vs. Toretto. Furious 7. If you're gonna be a major player in this franchise, it's only a matter of time before you go head-to-head with the main man himself. But when Deckard Shaw came into the picture as the big bad of the 7th film, he brought an above-average amount of personal baggage. Grudges that went both ways. Deckard was out for blood after his brother's crushing defeat at the hands of Dom and the gang. And Dom, for his part, knows that this is the man who killed Han. You can feel that mutual hatred infused in every stage of this fight, from the head-on collision and the brief gunplay to their brutal brawl. Had Gioconda not interfered, they likely would have beat each other to death. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Hobbs vs. Toretto. Fast 5. For the 5th Fast and Furious film, the franchise got an exciting new addition to the cast, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. It was a major shakeup, not just in terms of the on-screen dynamic between characters, but also in the addition of more gunplay and physical altercations. More of a slow-building heist movie than its sequels, Fast 5 steadily ups the tension in various ways, but particularly between Toretto and Hobbs. And so when they finally come to blows, it was freaking explosive. Diesel and Johnson are both big guys, and their characters have egos to match. The brawl is brutal and bone-crunching, as the two behemoths literally throw each other through walls. In the end, it even manages to pack an emotional punch as well. This video is brought to you by Hobbs and Shaw. Own it with over 80 minutes of bonus content, including an alternate opening and deleted scenes, on digital October 15th, and on Blu-ray and 4K Ultra HD November 5th. The rest of the Fast and Furious franchise is available now on digital, 4K Ultra HD, and Blu-ray.